AITA if I didn't show up at my own wedding because my fiancé invited my abusive father? I, 24F, have been engaged to my fiancé Mark, 25M, for almost a year now, and we've been planning our wedding for late June. Mark is well aware of my situation with my father in the sense that he, 47M, was very emotionally abusive to me and my siblings when I was a kid. I still have memories burned into my brain of my father screaming at us for anything and everything and insulting, mocking, and belittling us. When I turned 18 and graduated high school, I immediately moved out and cut contact with my father, and I haven't looked back since. Now comes the problem. I was speaking with Mark about the guest list and making sure everyone had assigned seats and each guest was compatible with those at their table, and he mentioned how he'd invited a Robert last minute. I asked who Robert was, forgetting about my father entirely, and he mentioned it was my dad. I immediately asked why he would invite my father to our wedding and if he was joking, but he wasn't. Mark argued that my father would become his father after the wedding and he wanted to get to know my family and not start off our marriage by hurting his family. I argued that my father wasn't family and he wasn't a part of my life and hasn't been since I was 18, almost 6 years ago. He told me he had talked to my younger sister, 19F, about the situation and they had agreed my father should attend, even to stand in the back, to be a part of our special day. I tried to explain the extent of the emotional abuse, but Mark was determined that it couldn't have been that bad. I also believe my sister had a lot to do with this, as she was like the golden child to our father, and she still maintained a relationship with him. I told Mark that I was considering not showing up if my father would be there, because the emotional abuse changed me entirely and I can't handle seeing him or being around him. Mark told me I was being dramatic and that maybe I should cool off and think it over, and married couples compromise for each other, so I should be a little lenient about this issue. AITA because I don't want to pay extra bills because my stepdaughter is living with us? I got married 3 years ago, my husband, and we both have children of our own from past relationships. I've got a son who is graduating university and he has a daughter who graduated 2 years ago. My SD used to live on her own and had jobs, but because her landlord started having unreasonable demands, she asked if she could move with us and we said she can. She still has her job. Just recently my husband brought up the bills of the month and obviously they were higher than usual because now it is the consumption of 3 instead of 2. I thought that since we are 3 adults living then the distribution is going to be among us 3, but no, my husband wanted to distribute everything among him and I. So the consumption of 3 among only 2. Now why is that a problem to me? 1. I felt it is unfair that I'm paying extra money for an adult with a job to live rent-free. 2. As I said, my son is graduating, and I've been saving up for his graduation gift. So I'm already low with my own personal budget because I save huge portion of my income to get that gift. When I told my husband why can't she contribute at least a little bit, his reasoning was she's here to save up. Okay, and I want to save up too? But he told me that a young adult getting help is more important than a graduation gift and I should sort my priorities. I got so annoyed at him and told him that I've been saving up for so long for this gift, I'm not gonna ruin everything now, and even if I wasn't saving up for this gift, I wouldn't have contributed more money just for an adult to live rent-free, I'd use that money on myself. We kept arguing back and forth and I haven't changed my stance, nor did he. So am I the
AITA for leaving after my mom tried to send me to a different country? So basically I, 15F, live in the USA with my mom and my dad is in Scotland because they are divorced. My dad was born in Scotland and my mom immigrated to the USA when she was a young girl with her family. They are both ethnically Pakistani though. Their custody was shared, but my dad moved back to Scotland not that long ago and now I stay with my mom. I was born in the USA, I've been to Scotland like once to see my dad's family. 2 days ago my mom made me sit down to talk and told me that she's sending me to Scotland to see me dad. I told her I didn't really want to, because I don't really like my dad and haven't seen him in a long time, 5-ish years. Subscribe for part 2.
AITA for not paying for my neighbor's vet bill. I, 31F, recently moved into a new house and immigrated to the UK. I remodeled my backyard and front yard by doing that. I added my favorite flowers, Madonna lilies. I planted them in rows on the side all through the garden for one color. I received a knock on my door from a distraught neighbor this morning saying our other elderly, 80SF, neighbor's cat was rushed to the vet. Turns out her cat was sick with lily poisoning. She's on a limited income and can't afford the £500 plus vet bill. I told her that I'm sorry her cat ate my flowers, but I didn't think it really was my responsibility to pay for it. My neighbor was incredibly livid and said we should have been more considerate knowing their cats go into our garden. She then said I should pick non-poisonous flowers. While I do understand it must be a terrible situation and I'm glad her cat is okay, I don't really think this is something that is necessarily my responsibility to pay for as a pet owner. AITA.
But she told me that I had to. I got a little mad and told her I didn't want to and she can't make me. Then she kind of exploded and yelled that I'm going to live with my dad. I just sat there not saying anything and so did she. I got up and left the house with my school backpack and just walked around. I walked around for like 3 hours and then went back home and my mom, uncle and grandparents were there. They asked me where I went and said they were about to call the police. My mom and grandparents started yelling at me, but my uncle told me to just go upstairs, so did. We didn't talk about it until today and she said that on Sunday we are going to Scotland to see my dad and that I might go live with him. We argued more because she wasn't telling me why she was sending me away. I came back 5 hours later and a police officer was there with my mom and uncle again. They talked to me and said I can't just go out like that, but I literally couldn't be in that house while she started talking about sending me away.
AITA for not letting my sister and her kids live in my house. I 25F am an electrician. I started my apprenticeship at 17 and was hired immediately by my sponsor after I received my license. The reason I chose a trade was that I grew up in a trailer with my mom and sister and I have wanted to own a house since I can remember, and being in the trades gave me access to a stable job and access to more money sooner. My partner, 29F, Thea, is a plumber, and we have scrounged and saved. In the end, we bought land and built a tiny house in the uptown area of our city. It has 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. One of the bedrooms is our reptile room, as I keep snakes and Thea keeps bearded dragons. We are child-free and happy in our home. Like and subscribe for more. My sister Lucy, 34F, is a waitress and has 3 kids, M4, M3, M2. Her husband just left her for a woman my age and she is left without his income to raise all 3 kids on her own. Her husband bought out her half of the house during the divorce and that left her and the kids living with my mom in the trailer. I can admit I didn't grow up in the safest of areas and was carrying a knife when I was a teenager because of the danger. Because of the safety issue, Lucy came to Thea and I and begged us to let her and her sons move in. She said we would have to get rid of our reptiles or keep them in our room, her sons could have the other bedroom, and she would sleep in our kitchen on an air mattress. She said nothing about paying us rent or helping around the house. I told her no, because 2 toddlers and a little kid who is about to start kindergarten aren't suitable to be in our home and we don't want too many people in our house. She said that we live in a better part of town with better schools and that she needed the help. I told her we didn't have the room and that I was sorry, but I could hook her up with some journeyman I know and she could get started on an apprenticeship that pays better than her current job if she needed extra money. She called my job and Thea's job dirty blue-collar trash and left our home. She posted about how we wouldn't let her stay online, and now my relatives are messaging me about, how could I let a single mother and 3 kids be homeless, how they're your blood, and you owe your sister better than that. I feel like a complete asshole even though Thea told me I have every right not to want them in our house. AITA? So commit am I the holy.
AITA for firing my time-blind niece from babysitting over the phone. I have 3 kids, they are not old enough to be left alone at home. They are 10, 8, and 7. We had a babysitter but she is in college now and can't do it. I have a niece that is 16 and she has high-functioning autism. My wife and I agreed to let her babysit when my sister asked. Easy way to have a babysitter and she gets pocket money to spend. She babysat last week and she was late. We were able to get to our event but it was annoying. The whole night went well and the kids had a good time. I informed her she cannot be late since we have places to be. Comment and subscribe for part 2. Today my wife and I had to get to a work function and we needed to be on time. She was supposed to babysit but when she was 20 minutes late I called her and told her not to come. I pulled a favor for my neighbor and we left. I got a call from my sister pissed that I fired my niece and it's not her fault she has time blindness. That my niece has been very upset about being fired, and personally I think it's a good life experiences. Better to figure it out now before she gets a job where you clock in. My sister called me a jerk and my wife is thinking I may be too harsh even if she agrees that her being late is an issue. Comment below, am I the holy, like and subscribe.
AITA for not inviting my sister to my wedding? I, 29F, am getting married in 6 months, and I'm facing a dilemma regarding my guest list. My relationship with my sister, 32F, has always been strained due to her toxic behavior and constant drama. She has a history of causing scenes at family gatherings and making everything about her. I don't want her negativity to overshadow my special day, so I'm considering not inviting her to the wedding. AITA for wanting to exclude my own sister from my wedding?
AITA for revealing my ex's secret at her wedding? I, 28M, attended my ex-girlfriend's wedding recently, and I did something that's been weighing heavily on my conscience ever since. You see, my ex cheated on me multiple times during our relationship, and I found out she was still in contact with one of her exes leading up to the wedding. Out of anger and spite, I decided to anonymously send proof of her infidelity to her fiancé before the ceremony. AITA for ruining her big day and exposing her secret? Like, comment, and subscribe. AITA for calling off my birthday dinner because my parents were making me include my sister? I, 16F, am the oldest of 4. My younger siblings Eva, 14F, Rory, 11M, and Jace, 9M, all have food allergies that were passed down from my mom's side of the family. I don't have food allergies. My siblings' allergies are all pretty severe, and include a bunch of different things. This always meant we have to be very careful about food in our house, as well as where we eat out. There's only 2 restaurants in our small town that are safe for my siblings to eat at. I hate both those places with a passion. The food is so bland to me and some of it is disgusting. My parents are okay with it and my siblings love both places. I'm not the only one who feels that way because my grandpa always grumbles when the wider family gets together to eat someplace because he hates them too. But we both know they're the only options we have. My parents like to do family dinners instead of birthday parties for our birthdays. I have always hated it because it's never super fun to eat at places you don't like. I have told my parents I'd like to do something different for my birthday for years now, but they always treated it like I was some bratty kid for wanting something other than a family dinner. They talked about how resentful I am of the sacrifices we need to make for my siblings and how it always shows how much I dislike doing it and how they are ashamed to say that about their own firstborn. They told me I should be glad to do it for my siblings. I admitted sometimes I resented missing out on certain experiences. The local indoor playground was always off limits because they had peanuts at the tables and 2 of my siblings are deathly allergic, so that meant my parents didn't take me either. Also couldn't go to see a movie, even with friends, because my parents were concerned about exposure to something like peanuts. This year they told me I could skip the family celebration and go out to dinner with my friends since my grandparents were willing to host us for a sleepover as well. I was so happy. My friends and I had agreed to try this place in town and one of them is related to the owners, so she was able to make a family reservation for us. Then my sister wanted to come to dinner with us. I told her she couldn't because it's a place she can't eat in or even be in. My parents told me I would just need to change the location, but my sister wants to go, so she better be allowed to come. They told me there are no compromises to be had. I told them I don't like either place she can eat at and they said I'd still have my sister there. So I called my friends and told them the whole thing was off. They felt so bad for me and I told my grandparents too. My grandpa was furious. It became a fight between my parents and grandparents and my parents flipped on me for calling off the dinner. They told me how cruel it is to cancel a whole pre-planned thing just because they were making me include my sister. AITA? AITA for calling my stepdaughter ridiculous for refusing to meet me even though it has been 4 years. I have been with my husband for 4 years now. He was divorced 1 year prior to us meeting and dating, and separated for a while before that. His oldest, Evie, was 18 when he and I started to date. He also had Sarah, then 15, and Ben, then 11. I get along great with Sarah and Ben. However, when we started dating, and my husband wanted to introduce me to the kids, Evie had just moved for college. I met her on a video call with my husband, and she was pleasant enough. However, when it came to meeting in person, she kept making excuses. I tried to reach out to her online, adding her to our family's group chat, etc., but no dice. Like and subscribe for part 2. AITA for calling my stepdaughter ridiculous for refusing to meet me even though it has been 4 years part 2. It has come to a head now with her university graduation. She got a few tickets, but none for me. We didn't make a fuss because she wants her mom and grandparents there, but my husband suggested I come to dinner with him, her, and her siblings. Evie has objected to this, saying she has so little time with the 3 of them, that my presence would be a distraction. When my husband told me, I got upset, and asked when the hell would it be the right time for me to meet her. It's been 4 years. I am obviously not going anywhere. I called her ridiculous, and my husband got mad. He said we need to respect her feelings. I think she's dragging this out for no reason. Her siblings like me and agree that she's dramatic as well. AITA? Like, comment, and subscribe for more. AITA for setting up a just-in-case fund for my daughter? My daughter has been married to her husband for 3 years and they recently had their first child. The entire time they've been married, she's been a housewife and now she's a stay-at-home mom with no plans to return to work. I think that's fine and have been supportive. I also know she and her husband both have sizable life insurance policies, so if God forbid, one dies, they'll be okay. However, she also signed a prenup, which again, I think is smart. But according to my daughter, she'd get a very small settlement. And even with child support, there's a good chance she'd have to return to work. And after being out of the workforce for a bit, who knows if that'll be a challenge. My main worry is my niece fell into this scenario and even with child support, she struggled. So, my husband, her father, and I set up a just-in-case account. If she and her husband divorce, she'll have money to fall back on just in case. If they remain married past the time my husband and I die, it'll just be added to what she'll inherit. Like and subscribe for part 2. AITA for setting up a just-in-case fund for my daughter? Part 2. I didn't intend on telling her about it unless it happened, but my husband pointed out that if she was ever in a situation where she wanted to leave but worried she financially couldn't, it'd be good for her to know she has a plan B. So, we told her and she was a little surprised. She said she appreciated it but felt we were rooting against her. I said we love her husband and hope they have a long, healthy marriage. We have always been supportive. But this is similar to the prenup. A just-in-case. A last resort. Well, she told her husband and he's pissed at us as well, saying that we don't trust him. I said it's looking out for our daughter and really is no different from the prenup. I added that just as he'll always want to protect his daughter, we'll always want to protect ours. AITA? Like, comment, and subscribe for more. AITA for spending my son's university fund on a trip to Europe to drink beer like I always threatened instead of giving it to his stepbrother after he passed away. My son was smart. Smarter than me. I almost requested a paternity test because he was so damn intelligent. That is a joke. My ex and I divorced when he was about 12. She remarried when he was 14. I did when he was 16. I had an RESP set up for him. That's a education fund in Canada. As long as he went for post-secondary education, he could use the money for anything. I always told him that I was okay with him not going to university. That way I could use the money I had saved up for him to go to Belgium and buy some beer from monks that only allow you to buy one case. He knew I was joking and he always played along. He wouldn't let me get his goat. When he got accepted to McGill, it was the proudest moment of my life. I took him out for a beer to celebrate his achievement and mourn the loss of my trip to Europe. My son was struck and killed by a drunk driver in March. I'm dealing with it. My ex is dealing with it. My wife has been nothing but my rock in this. She is holding me up. I was dealing with the funeral arrangements and everything when my ex came to talk to me about his money. She knew he had a scholarship and was just going to use the money for living expenses and an emergency fund. She asked me what I was going to do with it. I said I was going to do what I always said I would. I was going to Europe to drink beer. She asked if she could have it for her stepson. I thought about it and said no. Her husband is a decent enough person, but he made it clear that he wasn't responsible for any expenses for my son. Beyond food and shelter and stuff, obviously. Like I said, he is decent. I said I was not going to do that. I was going to go drink beer in my son's honor. She says I'm wasting thousands of dollars. And I guess I am. My son would laugh his ass off if he knew I actually did it. So AITA. AITA for telling my wife's friends I make more money than her? I, 25M, am married to my wife, Sasha, 28F. She comes from a pretty wealthy background while I decidedly do not. My dad left before I was born and my mom died when I was 11. I've mostly gotten over it, as much as one can get over something like that. However, I'm still sensitive on any so-called jokes on that. I graduated summa cum laude and went straight into investment banking. I met my wife when I was 23 and fresh into it, but after 3 years I earned pretty well. My wife is a lawyer. Now I love my wife and she loves me, obviously, but her family hates me. Like from the depths of their souls, hates me. I've been called a gold digger, a lowlife, and a few more vague insults on my table manners. Like and subscribe for more. I went to a party with her the other day, one of those fancy schmancy things where everyone drinks champagne and complains about this, that, and the other, talking about, oh, we spend so much money on renovations, gasp. And I got the usual mild comments from wife's family and close friends on where my wife picked me up from. Lacey, I don't think, knew about my family history before. We were talking about dads, don't ask me why, and I got a question on what my dad did. I said I didn't know, never met the guy. Lacey made this kind of exaggerated gasp and went, oh, well, we all know why you're with her, my wife, then don't we? Like and subscribe for more. I acted all confused and she got flustered, and just kept going with, well, you know. My wife tried to move the conversation along, but by this point I wasn't letting it go. I kept pushing and pushing until Lacey finally said, well, you two don't exactly have the same finances, do you? And then responded with, you're right. I make quite some more. Lacey by this point was too embarrassed to keep going. I kind of ruined the vibe, but the night continued. This isn't the kind of event you walk away from. We went home, which was when shit genuinely went down. She told me it was crazy of me to keep pushing on that point and turn one comment into one of the most embarrassing moments of her life, and now everyone in her circle must think she's some kind of failure to earn so much less than her husband, and I'd ruined everything. But it's not like I lied. I'm just tired of being treated like shit in her circle. My wife is upset though, and I do care about her, so I need to know, AITA?